F1 summer break is now well and truly in our rearview mirrors, and that means that the race action is flying thick and fast. We ended the summer break with the Belgian Grand Prix, and just a week later we're set to witness the Dutch Grand Prix this time around. And it's safe to say that there's plenty of excitement around this race because last year when Formula One returned to Netherlands, the atmosphere was electric, the race was competitive, and people are definitely feeling for more action from the Zandvoort circuit. Hello everyone and welcome back to Sports Today. My name is Shane Reyes and today we are going to look at the major talking points to take place before the Netherlands Grand Prix, and of course we have quite a few talking points to look forward to, so let's just get straight to it. Number one, of course, pertains to this man and the home favorite, Max Verstappen. Now, Max Verstappen started the racing or the time after the summer break in thumping fashion, recording an absolutely dominant win at the Belgian Grand Prix in Spa-Francorchamps, where he was quite comfortably the fastest car ahead, and his dominance was so much that he finished nearly 18 seconds ahead of Sergio Perez, his teammate, who, mind you, was driving the exact same car. So the real question is, can anyone actually stop Verstappen, especially considering if Belgium had a few Verstappen fans, Netherlands is going to be crazy with the Max Army and the Orange Army turning out in full force to support their man who last year was a contender for the World Championship, this time comes back as the defending champion and the favorite to actually take his second straight title on the trot. The real question is, can anyone actually stop this guy? At this point, it seems very, very unlikely, especially considering Ferrari have a mix of issues to deal with. And that brings us to our next talking point. This man, Ferrari Charles Leclerc. Now, again, if Verstappen's start to racing life post the summer break was in fact ideal, then for Charles Leclerc, the start after the summer break was anything but ideal. He ended up finishing a distant fifth in that race. In fact, he was relegated to 6th due to a late 5-second penalty due to speeding in the pit lane, and this means that his title hopes, barring anything absolutely exceptional happening, are all but over. The real question now is, what is it that Ferrari should be aiming to do? Should they go full steam ahead and try and compete for the title, even though it seems like Verstappen and Red Bull already have one hand on it? Or should they actually look to consolidate second place? Because remember, they might have a faster car than Mercedes, but Mercedes do have better reliability and better strategies, something that Ferrari have lacked in for most part of this season, and they would actually not want to risk slipping from third from second to third in the Constructors' Championship, because of course the Constructors' Championship determines how much money you get in terms of prize money, so you want to be finishing higher to get more of a payoff from, of course, the competition. So what is it that Ferrari should do? If you ask me, they should look to compete for wins, but at this point the title race seems all but over, so the main focus should be to stay away from, of course, this man, Lewis Hamilton. Now, again, Lewis Hamilton had probably the worst race of his career, of his season at the Belgian Grand Prix. He ended up clattering into Alonso, and that's something he took credit for and said, you know what, that was my fault. I shouldn't have done what I did, and I apologize to Fernando. However, Alonso still managed to end up finishing 5th. Hamilton, on the other hand, had to retire the car early on, didn't end up taking a points finish, despite the fact that his teammate George Russell actually ended up finishing 5th. So obviously Hamilton would be looking to bounce back, but the real question for him and George Russell and Mercedes, of course, is what exactly is their car going to look like in this particular circuit. Now, the W13 Mercedes 2022 car has been an absolute diva, to put it mildly. It's looked very good in certain tracks, it's looked very off the pace in others, and in some cases it's just kind of been there. What exactly the Zandvoort have in store for it will be key, because the car clearly does have speed, but the operating window for it to be at its optimal best seems to be very small, and Mercedes still haven't quite figured it out. Will they be able to figure it out? That's something that only time will tell, but for them it is imperative that they are able to figure out so that they can get closer to that, not only a podium finish but also to claim their first race win of the season, because if they manage to finish this year without a race win, it will be the first time since I think 2012 that they will be finishing without a race win, which is massive, especially considering this is the same team that has won 8 straight Constructors' Championships and 7 straight world titles. But it's enough of the big teams, and let's look at the best of the rest in the midfield, and that clearly consists of course, McLaren and Alpine. And of course, Alpine have looked much better or more consistent in recent times. That's why they're pulling ahead in that battle for 4th place. But you can't just write off McLaren just yet, because like Mercedes, their car too seems better suited for certain tracks. So in some places they look like a strong midfield contender, in other places they're fighting for spots at the back of the grid. But of course, what cannot be debated is that it's going to be both of these drivers, McLaren's Lando Norris and of course Fernando Alonso of Alpine, who will be key to whatever chances they have of maximizing their points. Which of these drivers will do better is actually going to be voting better for the other team, because you know for a fact that at McLaren, Daniel Ricciardo has struggled horribly, and Esteban Ocon is someone who's a solid but unspectacular driver at Alpine. So definitely it's going to be the battle between these two that you'll be keeping an eye out for in the midfield. But speaking of the midfield, there is another team that has been experiencing just a little bit of a rise in the last race, and that is of course Aston Martin, the team incidentally that Fernando Alonso will be joining next season when he leaves Alpine. Now again, Aston Martin have absolutely struggled this year. It's continued the theme they've had from last season, where there was high expectations but next to nothing in terms of results. This year too, they've actually had two different car concepts, with the second one being tagged a Red Bull clone. They still haven't been able to find much, but Belgium did offer up some encouraging signs, because Sebastian Vettel ended up getting a very respectable 8th place finish, and Lance Stroll ended up finishing 11th, just one spot away from actually getting in the points. Now, if you compare the kind of the other two people who got those points finishes for, behind Vettel, you had, of course, Pierre Gasly and AlphaTauri, who haven't really been competitive at all this year, and of course the Williams of Alex Albon, who, well, he did pretty well to drive, the wheels of that Williams and get them to 10th place. They too haven't really been regular points competitors. So the real question now is, can Aston Martin actually kick on and solidify themselves in that midfield? Maybe get to 5th or 6th position, because again, you'd remember that the other teams who started the season well have kind of tailed off. Alfa Romeo started the season well, but they haven't looked good in recent times. Of course, there is some bad luck in that regard, but that can't be discounted. Haas too haven't really, in fact, since the time they've introduced their upgrade, or their one and only upgrade in Hungary, the car has actually looked slow, and they didn't look good in Belgium at all. So the key is this a right time for Aston Martin to actually strike and show that, yeah, we can be competing for points in the midfield, and we might just do better next season, especially considering next year Sebastian Vettel will be retiring, and they'll be getting an Alonso who's keen to still prove that he can hang with the best of the best. But this Aston Martin car hasn't been anywhere close. So interesting times for, of course, this team, the Silverstone based team. Can they actually keep that going? That's going to be a thing to be definitely be keeping an eye out on this particular, race weekend. But enough about what I feel. What do you guys think would be the key talking points, or what are you looking forward to most as F1 returns to Zandvoort? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and of course tap the bell icon if you're a subscriber, so you know when it is we're going live or uploading a new video for you guys. Don't also forget to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and of course download the AajTak app for all the updates from the F1 world and the world of sports in general. Thank you so much for joining us. As always, I've been Shane Dias, and I hope to see you all again very, very soon. Bye bye for now.